Hello, it is Thursday, June 2nd at 5:51 p.m. Eastern Time in the year 2022. I'm Mitch Miller. This is my video journal. Today we're going to be talking about what I would do as President of the United States, my strategy for the legalization of marijuana. But first I want to share a little story about growing up in Utica, Pennsylvania. A lot of my childhood growing up was kind of like training for the CIA, and I recently, over Memorial Day weekend, we went on a kayak trip down French Creek with my parents. And they pointed out that there's a large field that's a landing strip that they land airplanes in just upstream from Utica, Pennsylvania, about a mile upstream. Dad reminded me of a story of when I was 13 or 14 years old. We were hunting turkey, and we took the shotgun and the .243 rifle with us in case we had to shoot a turkey at long range. We were way up on a hillside, and we could see that landing strip field, that airfield, and there was a flock of turkey out there. And my dad said, "Go ahead and shoot at those." So I shot about, it was probably a quarter mile. There was no way I was going to hit them. Quarter mile across the road. I was up, 500, 700 feet above the road, across the creek, and into an airstrip and a flock of turkey. So if you've ever fired upon a landing strip from a hilltop, so have I. We have common ground that we could speak to each other on. Anyhow, legalizing marijuana. I'm for the legalization of marijuana, but as you know, I'm strategic, and I think we should do things strategically. I'm for the legalization because of the millions of people that are incarcerated every year in the United States over something that has medicinal properties and that is fairly harmless to human beings. And I'll say, and the conservatives will make their arguments, or whoever make their arguments, that human brain is developing till age 25, and that marijuana can affect that development, and so can alcohol, and that's why the drinking age is 21. I think the drinking age should be 18, and I think it's interesting that they point out the studies on how alcohol and marijuana affect brain development until age 25, but they don't say anything about screen time, how screen time affects brain development, or how wireless waves affect brain development. There's no comprehensive studies on that. They just want to pick their poisons and vilify those who need to unwind at the end of a long, hard week on the ladder, or picking up garbage, or whatever people do for their income. Anyhow, marijuana is strategic. So I'm all for the legalization of marijuana, but I think it's a little hypocritical for these cities that decriminalized it, like Pittsburgh, because I don't think that we need to be blatantly smoking marijuana walking down the street where children can see you and say, "That guy looks pretty cool. He's got a goatee and mustache, and he's smoking weed. That must be cool." So I'm against public consumption of marijuana, and I think that's where the states are going awry, and where the federal government can strategically legalize it and get us back on track, because you'll never get drugs off the street if you don't give people safe places to use those drugs, right? Look at alcohol. We have bars, some restaurants where people can go and consume alcohol and socialize, because drugs are a social type of thing. And we have laws in the states that say, most states have laws and municipalities that if you're walking down the street with an alcoholic beverage, number one, either you're not allowed to walk down with an open beverage, or number two, you have to hide it, conceal it in a paper bag as a courtesy, so that children don't see you just drinking beer and walking down the street. I believe we can do the same thing with marijuana, with recreational marijuana. And so I think strategically the federal government should pass a 5-year charter for partial legalization of marijuana. And this 5-year charter can be rolled back after 5 years if people are blatantly consuming marijuana out in public. And the charter is for cafes, marijuana cafes. Let the dispensaries be run by the states, and the medical marijuana be run by the states, but the federal government allows marijuana cafes where marijuana can be consumed on the premises but not smoked. Okay? It can only be consumed through a liquid form of marijuana, clearly labeled, or it can be mixed by the cafe attendant, like mixed in your coffee, but they tell you how much dosage is in the drink you're about to consume. So that's where I think we go. You have states we've had laws on the books for 100 years since Prohibition was lifted about consuming alcohol in liquid form, because that's pretty much the only way you can consume it. Now, tobacco's been legal for a long time, and we didn't come out with candy bars and gummy bears and lollipops for nicotine usage. We have the gum and the patch to help people quit it, and that's regulated and prescribed a lot of times. So why marijuana is available in all kinds of cookies and candies and all kinds of stuff is beyond me. And I am frankly against it. I think it should just be a 12-ounce beer-like beverage that clearly says it's 5 milligrams that somebody can consume in a cafe. So I think that's how you strategically legalize marijuana. The federal government says, okay, we'll try out recreational, but it has to be in liquid form in clearly marked containers, and will allow a certain amount of cafes per county or per municipality. So that would be my strategy. And, I think it's hypocritical because the argument for smoking marijuana has always been, I should be able to do whatever I want in the privacy of my own home. And you can, in a lot of ways. But, with the decriminalization of marijuana, now you can do whatever you smoke marijuana in your privacy of your own home. But people are doing it while they're walking their dogs out on the streets. And I'm not for that. I think that's taking advantage of the situation. But I do think that we should work federally on the laws for if the police should have to enter your house and there was marijuana sitting out on the table, that they automatically have to charge you with drug possession and things like that. I think we should work on that as part of the strategy. But that's my strategy for the legalization of marijuana. Cafes, give people a safe place to use the drugs and socialize, and hopefully that keeps it off the streets. If it doesn't keep it off the streets, we can retract the charter, the bill, and it's a temporary bill that can be retracted, and it'll go back to the states and the municipalities. Now, another strategy I do have is to elect the Secretary of the Treasury, and my recommendation for the election of the Secretary of the Treasury, or what I would do as the Secretary of the Treasury, or as President, working with the Secretary of the Treasury, would be to allow dispensaries to bank with federally backed and insured banks to legitimize and that's something the president could do right now to take a step towards legalization, but not wait for Congress to pass a blanket recreational bill. There's steps they can take to say we'll legitimately accept this money into the federal system to legitimize these businesses. So that's another strategy I would have if the Secretary of the Treasury was elected. But that would be up to the people. So those are some strategies I have. Join me later tonight when my spouse drives to the Conneaut Lake to watch the dogs. I'm going to do another segment. These are things I've worked on over Memorial Day weekend that came to me. And I'm going to do another segment because Joe Biden is speaking today about gun violence. So if he's going to speak for however long, then I'm going to do 2 of these segments in one day because I have offered strategy to make smart guns, smart weapons that can't be used around schools and churches and things like that. I have offered strategy to resolve some of the mass shootings, and nobody wants to take me up on that. They just want to keep saying the same stuff and using the same strategies. Now, I wouldn't personally own an assault-style weapon, except maybe a semi-automatic pistol. But an assault rifle, I don't need one. Most people don't need them, but they say they're only designed for killing people. I don't see it that way. I think I've shot an assault-style rifle before. It's an exhilarating experience, much like taking off in your motorcycle, jumping out of an airplane, bungee jumping. It's very exhilarating. It's a powerful machine, and I don't think we should outlaw powerful machines just because they could potentially be used for killing. So can cars, automobiles, all kinds of machines can be used to kill. So taking away that form of exhilaration for some people that can shoot at a target and feel that exhilaration, that power, it is somewhat un-American. I think Americans enjoy their freedom to experience everything this life has to offer, including firing very powerful weapons. But I think we could make them smart weapons. You could still get that exhilaration, but they would lock out automatically if they came near a church, a school, a hospital, things like that. So if you were really in it just for the exhilaration and not the deadly power of it to be able to take it anywhere and kill, then you would agree with having smart weapons. And I think there's tons of Americans out there that would agree with that and would buy an AR-style rifle that did have a radio-controlled safeguard on it that wouldn't allow you to use it near these types of buildings. But we'll never know because the politicians like President Biden just want to talk and talk and talk and not take any action. I could start this weapons company for, if anybody even threw me $1,000 towards it, we'll see how far that gets. I'm not corrupt and I'm not going to take a bunch of payoffs, so help me develop it. Anyhow, I'm getting off the point. The point was legalization of marijuana. I think it should happen, but I think the federal government should be strategic about it, unlike the states and the municipalities that haven't been too strategic about it. Thanks for watching. Join me later tonight when I do another segment where I talk about universal child care in the United States. I have a plan for universal child care that I'm going to lay out later tonight. Thanks for watching, and join me next time.